Ambassador Kethvar adjusted his ceremonial robes as he entered the gleaming halls of the Galactic Cultural Archive. The Zephyrian's multiple eyes swept dismissively across the newest addition to the repository, a small, unremarkable section labeled Terran Artistic Expressions. This is what the humans consider art? Kethvar's translator rendered his chittering into standard galactic. His aide, a young crystalline named Rix-9, flickered nervously beside him. The Cultural Assessment Board classified it as primitive, Ambassador. Emotional noise, they called it. Kethvar examined a holographic display showing humans engaged in various musical performances. He watched with growing amusement as beings struck objects to create rhythmic sounds, manipulated strings to produce melodic vibrations, and most absurdly, opened their mouths to emit organized vocalizations. "Look at them," he scoffed, pointing at a recording of a human orchestra. "They coordinate dozens of individuals just to create atmospheric disturbances. No mathematical precision, no quantum harmonics, no dimensional resonance, pure chaos masquerading as culture." The Empire had discovered humanity 3 cycles ago during routine expansion operations. The humans had been easily integrated into the hegemony. Their technology was adequate, their resources valuable, and their military resistance negligible. But their insistence on preserving what they called music had become a source of constant mockery throughout civilized space. "File this under Curiosities of Lesser Species," Kethvar instructed. The Empire's real artists, those who manipulate matter at the quantum level or compose symphonies in pure mathematics, these represent true cultural achievement. 3 months later, the void spawn attacked. The creatures emerged from the spaces between dimensions, reality-devouring entities that consumed not just matter and energy, but the very concepts that gave structure to existence. Imperial fleets dissolved not from physical destruction, but from having their tactical algorithms and command structures simply forgotten by the universe itself. General Thax Prime stood in the war room of the hegemony's greatest battleship, watching entire star systems vanish from sensor readings. Not destroyed, forgotten, the Empire's most advanced weapons, their quantum fusion cannons and reality shear torpedoes, simply failed to exist when fired at the void spawn. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, her voice hollow with despair, "our entire military doctrine is gone. The void spawn somehow erased strategic concepts from reality. Our soldiers forget how to fight mid-battle." Thax Prime's forearms trembled. The Empire had conquered 17 galaxies using superior strategy and overwhelming technological advantage. But how do you fight an enemy that makes you forget what fighting means? "Sir," a communications officer burst into the room. "Urgent transmission from the Terran sector." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Fleet. Her ship, impossibly, still maintained coherent formation despite the reality storm raging around them. "Admiral Chen to Imperial Command," she said crisply. "We've discovered something about the void spawn. They target structured information, battle plans, tactical databases, command hierarchies. But they can't seem to affect organic patterns." "Organic patterns?" Thax Prime leaned forward. "Music, General. Human music creates neural patterns that exist in biological memory rather than digital storage. Our crews are staying coordinated by following musical rhythms and harmonies. The void spawn can erase our battle computers, but they can't delete a song stuck in someone's head." Within hours, human musical instructors were being deployed across the Imperial fleet. The same art form the Empire had mocked as primitive noise became their lifeline against cosmic annihilation. Commander Vextal of the Imperial cruiser Domination found himself in the surreal position of learning to march to something called a drum beat. The human instructor, a former music teacher named Marcus Webb, patiently guided the multi-species crew through basic rhythmic patterns. "Feel the beat in your body," Marcus explained as laser fire erupted around them. "Don't think about tactics, let the music guide your movements. 1, 2, 3, 4, fire on the downbeat." To Vextal's amazement, his crew began moving as a unified organism. Even as the void spawn erased their targeting computers and navigational databases, the steady pulse of human percussion kept them fighting. His gunners instinctively knew when to fire, not from tactical readouts, but from the rhythmic patterns embedded in their consciousness. "All ships," Admiral Chen's voice crackled across the fleet, "commence Operation Symphony." The human vessels began broadcasting their battle music across all frequencies, not just rhythm, but full orchestral arrangements that somehow encoded complex battle maneuvers within their melodic structures. Ships coordinated not through digital commands that could be erased, but through musical phrases that lived in the biological memories of their crews. The Zephyrian light cruiser scientific methodology found salvation in what their human advisor called jazz improvisation. As void spawn attacks erased their formation protocols, the crew learned to adapt through musical improvisation, each ship becoming an instrument in an ever-changing cosmic composition. Brass section, take the lead on that flanking maneuver, called out their human coordinator. Strings provide covering harmony. Percussion keep us steady on the main assault rhythm. The crystalline beings initially resistant to such illogical coordination methods discovered that their natural resonant frequencies could harmonize with human music in ways that created even more complex battle patterns. Their ships began singing in crystalline harmonies that guided weapon systems through pure tonal navigation. As the tide of battle turned, Kethvar found himself aboard a human vessel, witnessing something he never thought possible. The crew moved with perfect coordination, despite having no functional computers or tactical displays. They operated purely on musical instinct, firing weapons on specific beats, changing course on melodic cues, coordinating multi-ship maneuvers through nothing more than shared rhythm. "How?" he whispered to Marcus, who was conducting the bridge crew through a complex battle sequence using nothing but hand gestures and hummed melodies. Marcus smiled as he guided a perfect torpedo spread through a simple rhythmic pattern. Music isn't just sound, Ambassador. It's organized time, structured emotion, patterns that exist in our minds and bodies. Your empire built everything on external systems, computers, databases, digital networks. But human music lives inside us. The Void Spawn can erase our technology, but they can't delete our souls. The final battle lasted 18 hours. The combined Imperial human fleet, coordinated entirely through musical patterns, managed to drive the Void Spawn back into their dimensional rifts. Not through superior firepower, but through the one form of organized information the reality devourers couldn't consume, the living art that humans carried within their biological consciousness. In the aftermath, as fleets limped back to damaged stations and the Empire began rebuilding its shattered military doctrine, Kethvar stood once again in the cultural archive. But this time, he wasn't looking at the human section with mockery. He was listening. The primitive noise that had once seemed so chaotic now revealed layers of complexity he'd never imagined. Mathematical relationships, yes, but expressed through emotion and biological intuition rather than cold calculation. Patterns that existed not in quantum matrices but in the beating of hearts and the firing of neural networks. Rix 9, he called to his aide. Update the human cultural classification. To what status, Ambassador? Kethvar closed his multiple eyes and let the strange, beautiful chaos of human music wash over him. Essential strategic resource and, he paused, feeling something he'd never experienced before as melody stirred emotions he hadn't known he possessed. High art. Across the Empire, a new doctrine was being written, not in tactical databases or strategic computers, but in the living memories of soldiers who had learned that sometimes the most powerful weapon against the darkness wasn't superior technology. Sometimes it was simply a song that refused to be forgotten. The humans had been right all along. Music wasn't just organized sound, it was organized hope. And hope, as the Empire had learned, was the one thing that reality itself could never erase.